I was 15 years old at that time. Being ambitious and with vibrant young blood, I strove hard to reach the top. At the same time, I was flamboyant, easygoing and quite popular among my peers. I possessed an unshakable confidence in myself and the word fear did not exist in my dictionary, a quality which my friends admired. At that time I studied late night. That night started like a usual one. After dinner went straight to my room and started my studies. It was at the farthest corner, totally cut off from the entire house. Around 11:30 p.m., I hit the bed and immediately went into deep sleep. I generally had sound sleep. However, that night, I started feeling restless and woke up in panic. The clock had just struck 1. What I saw in front of me made my blood run cold. My whole body trembled and I perspired from head to toe. For the first time in my life, I came to know what fear was. My room was dimly lit, as light was entering through the window into my room. In the faint light, I witnessed a black dense, smoky cloud, the size of a basketball, moving from one wall to the other in the air close to the roof. It was spinning slowly and after some time it started progressing towards me as if aware of my presence in the room. Lowering down, it took 2 or 3 rounds of my bed. For a minute I went blank. I was unable to understand what it was and I was terrified. I sat still on my bed. I could sense that it was just not mere black smoke. There was something more to it and it had some consciousness within it. After some time, it started revolving slowly around me and encircled me completely. It slowly came extremely close to me. I wanted to shout for help but my voice failed. I felt choked and found it difficult to breathe. The black smoke was only a few inches from my face. With great difficulty, I stood up and managed to run out of the room in the nick of time and bolted the door from outside. I was now on the veranda under the open sky, completely shaken. I didn't know what to do. I looked up and took some deep breaths to return to normal. I pondered on my next move. The first thought which came to me was whether I should inform my parents. Then I said to myself, maybe the object inside the room was a figment of my imagination. Anyway, my parents could not do anything even if that something existed in reality. I was at loss to explain what had happened in my room. It was certainly not a dream. My body was still shaking in nervousness and my heart pounding at a fast pace. I kept sitting idly on the floor outside my room for about 2 hours or so. I remembered such unexplainable incidents had occurred many a times before, but this time it was happening after many years. I used to experience such unusual phenomenon since the age of 8 or 9. As a child, I used to tell my parents about these incidents, but neither they nor I could understand what was happening to me. After a certain age, I stopped telling them anything and started keeping things to myself. I made myself strong and started facing them on my own. Later that night, I gathered courage by telling myself that I could handle the situation, whatever it was, and returned to my room. I put on the lights and looked around very carefully. I checked every nook and corner of my room, even under the bed, but there was no sign of anything. I looked at the clock, it was 2:40 a.m. I dozed back with the lights on. The next 4 or 5 days passed normally. The memory of the incident that occurred a few nights back got completely erased from my mind. After a week, normal life resumed and I was back to sleeping soundly in my room. Suddenly in the middle of one night, I grew very restless and my eyes opened by themselves. The clock on the wall showed 1:00 a.m. I felt a strong urge to get out of the room and looked at the door. Before I could react, I saw the same smoky ball entering my room from the closed door and it slowly started taking shape. Keeping my eyes on it, I tried my best to move my body and get up but I couldn't move, not even my fingers. My hands, legs, the whole body felt so heavy and numb. However, I was completely aware of everything, myself, my emotions, my room and what was happening around me. My only confusion was whether I was sleeping or awake. The black entity took a form and emerged in the shape of a beautiful woman. The lady standing in front of me was wearing a bright white dress. She had long, jet black hair which she kept open and which almost reached her waist. She was fair-complexioned and had big wide eyes rimmed with black kohl. Though she was beautiful, there was nothing divine about her face. A mysterious smile curved her lips, which was good enough to tell me that I was getting into big trouble. She slowly tiptoed across the room and came over to me. She stood on the left side of my bed and looked straight into my eyes. I also returned her gaze. My previous experiences of such ghosts taught me to face them without fear and never give up. The lady perched herself on the bamboo chair which was placed near my bed. The bamboo chair was a new addition to my room as it was gifted fondly by my uncle. He had brought it especially for me from USA. She made herself comfortable on the chair as if going to sit there with me, forever. I found myself in a state of panic as I struggled to move out of my paralytic state. Cold sweat broke on my brow and I could not figure out anymore whether this was for real or a nightmare. She smiled at me.
Don't be afraid of me. I am your friend.
However, my instinct clearly told me that she was a devil in disguise and had some evil intention for coming here. What do you want from me and why have you come here? I tried my best to show my brave front.
Nothing, I have just come to take you, Krim, with me.
Here, do you want to take me? I was suspicious about her intention. She laughed and held my hand softly, saying,
Trust me.
As she caught hold of my hand, I felt jerked out of my body and suddenly we started moving with lightning speed. We entered some wormhole. Bright lights of all colors started reflecting around us and we passed through them. We soon came out into a bright open place. I didn't want to go any further but she pulled me. The place was a large, barren land and seemed limitless, without any boundaries. It opened to the vast sky with an extraordinary brightness which was glaring for the eyes. The sun appeared a huge, red ball of fire. The scorching heat pricked my skin. The land was completely dry with dark patches and cracks all over. We were now walking on a narrow trail. The path beneath our feet made a rustling sound. I was skeptical and hesitant to go forward but she pulled me ahead. Suddenly there was a ghastly scene before me and I was horrified. The place swarmed with men, women, and children of all ages. Some of them were howling in maddening laughter, others were howling in great pain. I could see a few giant-sized men garbed completely in black, beating and torturing the people. Even women and children were being hit brutally with iron sticks and chains. Their screams were pitiful and heart-rending. They had deep cuts all over their bodies and fresh blood oozed out. A terrible stench of raw flesh and blood filled the whole atmosphere. As we passed by their side, a few of them stared into my eyes with anguish and helplessness. I was horrified to see their innocent blood flowing and scared faces of little kids looking at me in agony. It seemed they were asking for help. I could feel their deep pain and my heart cried out but I could do nothing. I was in complete shock at the scene. I forgot that I was also a victim. The lady ordered me to keep moving. After crossing the horrendous area, we came to an empty, dusty, dry land again. After a long tiring walk, we reached a hilly area with boulders. The hill was not too high. On reaching the top, the lady in white pointed out and said,
This is your world, follow me.
And she started descending. From the height, I could see a mighty river flowing at some distance, which separated our side from the other world, which was nothing but complete darkness. As soon as we reached the shore of the river, the lady ghost motioned me to cross it. As I put my foot forward, I saw that the river was blood-red in color. It was roaring as if alive and burning from inside. I could feel intense heat coming from it. It was filled with very thick, sticky fluid as if thick blood was boiling and frothing. Bubbles were erupting as if the river was breathing. The lady walked on across the river with ease and soon crossed to the other side. I could faintly see her hand gesturing me to cross the river. I wanted to run away but there was something which kept pulling me to move forward. I was completely frustrated with all that was happening to me. I tried my best to stop myself but was unable to do so. Then, as soon as I put one foot in the river to try and cross it, I started being pulled into it. I was being sucked in, bogged down, Down desperately I tried with full strength to push my body towards the shore, which was just a few feet away, but I couldn't reach it. The pull from inside the river was too strong for me. It felt as if someone was sucking me into it. I looked down and saw there were infinite hands holding my legs, pulling me inside. The bloody fluid had almost reached my neck. I started screaming on top of my voice for help. Suddenly I felt the presence of a strong hand on my arm. The hand easily and gently pulled me up from the river. I found myself standing in an abandoned place. I was totally confused. I looked around. There was no sign of the screaming and moaning people, the deadly river, or even the lady in white who had brought me there. Before me was standing a man with long gray hair. He was strongly built and held a long golden stick in his right hand. The stick was quite wide, flat at the bottom, and touched the ground. He had bright eyes but no expression on his face. Before I could come to my senses, he looked into my eyes and asked in a very strong voice,
"What brings you here, young man?"
"Don't know."
"Beware. You are not supposed to come to this place. Go back."
Thank you for saving my life. Who are you, please?"
"I am the doorkeeper."
Saying this, he disappeared before I could ask or explain anything to him. The next moment I found myself on my bed in my room. It was 2:30 a.m. My whole body was soaked in sweat. It took me a while to identify where I was. The scary incident I had just experienced completely terrified me. What was happening to me? Why was I experiencing such incidents? I thought I had got rid of such incidents, but they had started haunting me again. Many questions clouded my mind, but I never had any answers to them. Now also, I could perceive no one who could provide answers to my long list of questions. The next 2 nights, the same incident was repeated. The lady in white dress visited me, sat on the bamboo chair, took me to the same location, and tried her best to drown me. Both nights, I was saved by the same doorkeeper who warned me from coming to that place and left without answering any of the questions hounding me. I was helpless. The woman overpowered me as if she had cast a spell. I had no control over my mind and was totally powerless as I followed her blindly. The third night, I was petrified. After saving me, the doorkeeper warned me in a serious tone. He ordered,
"If you come here one more time, I am sorry I would not be able to save you. Young man. This is my last help and also last advice to you, do not come back."
I could sense that my life was in real danger. I seriously debated on the old man's advice and suddenly thought of a way to avoid the situation. I had observed that the woman used to visit me at 1 a.m. and I returned to my room at 2:30 a.m. I started keeping myself awake. I drank cups and cups of coffee and idle time watching TV in our living room. I started sleeping only after 3 a.m. This routine continued for about a month. Soon the sleepless nights started to take a toll on my health and affected my work too. I could hardly concentrate due to extreme mental and physical tiredness. My parents were also getting suspicious about my abnormal routine. I was in really bad shape and prayed fervently every day, hoping that the incident would not be repeated anymore. I was afraid to venture into my room before 3 a.m. because of the dire warning given by my Savior. My frustration grew each day as I could not figure out what I should do to extricate myself from the situation. My thoughts were chaotic, my mind a whirlpool. These reflections occupied every moment of the day and night. One morning I had a call from my friend.
"Hello, Krim, how are you?"
It was Joe at the other end. His voice was heavy and there was a tone of seriousness in it. "I'm doing well. Is everything fine with you? And why you are sounding so serious?" I queried. It had been a while since we had met. In fact, we had not met since the incidents had started occurring.
"I am down with high fever, but are you sure you are okay? Don't lie to me."
I was taken aback at his words but was careful not to divulge details. "Yes, I am completely fine, my friend. But why are you asking me like this? What is the matter?" He continued.
"Is it not true that there is a new chair in your bedroom?"
I wondered how he knew about the new bamboo chair. Joe had not visited my home since a month. I had also not told anyone about my new possession which my uncle had gifted. This time I told him the truth. Yes, my uncle gifted it to me.
That means the dream I saw was true.
I was completely taken by surprise. What dream are you talking about? I asked him.
Last night I had a strange dream. I saw that I had come to your house and found myself standing outside your room. As soon as I opened the door, I witnessed you lying on your bed and a woman sitting on the bamboo chair. She looked at me with bloody eyes and threatened me, "You are his best friend, and I will take you also along with him."
The dream felt so real and fearful that it shook me inside out. I got up in great fear and was having fever since then. I was speechless and told him what he had seen in his dream was absolutely true. The same incident was occurring with me. We decided to meet at Joe's house after my school. That evening I headed straight to his home. He was lying on his bed and was still down with high fever. We discussed and analyzed each and every minute detail of the incidents which we had experienced in the last few days. I narrated the whole story to him. Joe was hurt and a little angry that I had not shared this episode with him earlier. I apologized heartily. I voiced my concern and am not able to understand when the lady in white says that she will take us along with her. What does she mean by this? He pondered for a while and looked at me. Suddenly he exclaimed,
"Oh God. You can't understand this, but she wants to kill us. My worst fears were being confirmed. What are you saying? Why the hell on earth would she want to kill us?"
Joe replied solemnly.
"Everything is clear to me. Look at my condition."
It made sense. I understood that as she was not able to reach me, she had set her sights on my friend, to send a clear message to me that I would not be able to escape her trap. I was her target. She would and leave me without doing harm. By coming in Joe's dream, she had sent a warning to me.
See, I can reach you through anyone or anything I want.
We wondered whom we should approach to get rid of this dire peril over our heads. Joe remembered that he had a friend who knew a conjurer, someone who possessed unusual powers to ward off effects of ghosts and spirits. We decided to visit him the next morning. I wanted to reveal further the mystery of the ghost.